Today I'd like to run through some of the most famous operas ever written and their composers. I won't go into a ton of detail, but I'll try to hit the biggest plot points and main character names. Giuseppe Verdi was an Italian composer who wrote many operas including La Traviata, Aida, and Rigoletto. La Traviata literally means the wayward woman. It's a tragic opera set in Paris in the mid-19th century and is the story of a doomed love affair between Violetta, a courtesan dying of tuberculosis, and Alfredo, a young nobleman. Verdi's Aida is set in ancient Egypt, and the story is of an Egyptian warrior named Radames who hopes to free his lover, an Ethiopian slave named Aida. And finally, Rigoletto, set in 16th century Mantua, follows the consequences that occur when Rigoletto, the court jester, mocks a duke. The duke curses him, and the curse is fulfilled when Rigoletto hires an assassin to kill the duke, and through a hilarious misunderstanding, Rigoletto's daughter Gilda is killed instead. Georges Bizet was a French composer who wrote Carmen, a tragedy which takes place in Seville, Spain in the mid-19th century. It's about a love triangle that forms between Carmen, a gypsy, Don Jose, a Spanish corporal, and Escamillo, a bullfighter or toreador. Spoiler alert! Jose eventually kills Carmen when she leaves him for Escamillo. Giacomo Puccini, an Italian composer, wrote Madame Butterfly. The story takes place in early 20th century Japan. This one isn't a happy story either, despite the name. Lieutenant Pinkerton, while stationed in Japan, marries Cho-Cho-san, then leaves for a few years and eventually returns with his real American wife after finding out he has a son. Cho-Cho-san is so distraught that she kills herself. The Barber of Seville is a much happier comic opera written by the Italian composer Gioacchino Rossini. Set rather predictably in 19th century Seville, Spain, it follows the exploits of Bartolo and Count Almaviva as they compete for the lovely Rosina's hand in marriage. This opera actually has a sequel called The Marriage of Figaro, but it was written by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart because, of course he can, he's Mozart. It's something of a spin-off focusing on different characters than the original did. It involves an elaborate and convoluted prank on Count Almaviva involving Cherubino cross-dressing as Susanna, and a fake affair between the eponymous Figaro and the Countess Almaviva. Mozart's most famous opera, however, is The Magic Flute. It's a fantasy originally written in German, as Mozart himself was from Austria, that follows the adventures of Prince Tamino and a birdcatcher named Papagino as they embark on a quest to save the Princess Pamina. Finally, one last composer, the German Richard Wagner, most famous for the four operas collectively known as Wagner's Ring Cycle or Der Ring des Nibelungen. The four dramas are The Rheingold, The Valkyr, Siegfried, and Dusk of the Gods, which has a better name in German, Götterdämmerung. The whole cycle is a dramatic adaptation of an epic Germanic poem about Siegfried, a dragon slayer, whose wife sought revenge after his murder. So to recap, Verdi wrote La Traviata, Aida, and Rigoletto. Bizet wrote Carmen, and Puccini wrote Madame Butterfly. Rossini wrote The Barber of Seville, but Mozart wrote its sequel, The Marriage of Figaro, as well as The Magic Flute. And finally, Wagner wrote The Ring Cycle, or Der Ring des Nibelungen.